It is 6:30 PM on May 12th, 2026, and this is a special meeting of the Monroe Township Planning Board. Notice of this meeting was given on May 8th as required by the Open Public Meetings Act, and a copy was posted on the second floor bulletin board in Town Hall and on the Township's website. Be advised, no new item of business will be started after 10:30 PM, and the meeting shall terminate no later than 11 PM. Audio and video of this meeting is being recorded in accordance with Ordinance 56-2024. The meeting is being broadcasted live on the Township's YouTube channel, and a link to this meeting will be posted on the Township website for the public to view at their convenience. Please keep in mind the exterior doors of the building automatically lock at 7:45, so if you leave the building during the meeting, please have someone accompany you to allow you back in.
We'll have the flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We'll have roll call.
Ms. Fox? Here. Mr. Fraterelli?
Here.
Mr. Giacomucci?
Here.
Mr. Hessel?
Here.
Ms. Kennedy?
Here.
Mr. Kozak?
Here.
Mr. Scardino is excused. Mr. O'Brien?
Here.
Mr. Wolf is excused. Mr. Young?
Here.
Mr. Campbell? Mr. Kernan? And Mr. Dockney? Thank you.
All right, we're going to have the solicitor swear in our board professionals.
Gentlemen, would you raise your right hand? State your name from my left to your right.
Chris Donkey, professional planner. Tim Kernan, professional engineer and planner.
Do you swear or affirm that any testimony
Do you swear or affirm that any testimony you might provide the board this evening is the truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes. Yes, I do.
Thank you.
Okay, our solicitor is going to explain the process tonight, and then we'll start.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Sure. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is a special meeting of your board, and it was convened for the following reasons. Hexa Builders, who are here tonight, submitted an application for a data center in the Hexa Builders redevelopment area. That application was submitted, if my recollection is correct, on April 8th. The MLUL and the township's ordinance requires that a determination be made whether or not that application is complete within 45 days of that application being filed. Because of scheduling matters and issues, tonight was the night elected or ordained to have a meeting to evaluate whether or not the application is complete. And so tonight's proceeding would be simply for Mr. Chairman, to ask our professionals to review the application in terms of its completeness, then give the applicant an opportunity to respond to those comments, and then the board can take action to determine whether or not the application is complete or not complete. So if you wanted, I would recommend that we ask Mr. Dockney, who is the board's planner, to review his report. To review his report with the board first.
All right, please.
I'd like to know why we all
Please.
that application means.
Can you please sit down and wait until open comment?
It's a good question. It's a good question. Why didn't we know?
You need to sit down and wait until open comment.
The application,
We gotta wait.
so let me make one other comment, right? This is obviously an application of great concern to everybody here, including the applicant, right? And we are recording this meeting, and we are
No one likes you.
We're recording the meeting, and we're recording the meeting for the purpose of creating a record so that if anyone else has to look at this record, we know exactly what happens. And so to the extent that we are interrupted, that people are calling from the public, and we can't therefore create an accurate record, that's problematic. So I would appreciate, and I think the board would appreciate, your cooperation in not speaking when other people are speaking when it's appropriate, using the microphone so that everybody can hear, speaking clearly so that we can move through the hearing and create an appropriate record.
Thank you. Okay, so we're going to listen to our planner.
Chris. Thank you.
All right, thank you. And for the record, Chris Stockney, professional planner with Artheon, formerly CME Associates, technically still CME Associates for a little while. Okay, can you hear me now?
You got to be very close to them.
I will have the microphone no further than 2 inches from my face, as much as I possibly can. Okay, so before we get into issues of completeness for this application, I think there's a potential jurisdictional issue that would need to be reviewed. That if I am correct here, I'm not sure this board even has the jurisdiction to hear this application. Now, under the current in place Hexa Builders redevelopment plan, which this applicant or this developer got a site plan approved.
I'm going to ask you to speak slower so that everyone can hear what you're saying.
Okay. Sorry, I do not have any control over the volume of the microphone. I can only speak into the mic.
Slow.
I don't know that we do either.
Please, if you're quiet, you'll be able to hear.
Okay, as I was saying, I think there's a potential jurisdictional issue with this application. The site here, which is block 8401, lots 8, 9, and 10, which is governed by the Hexa redevelopment plan, and by reference also your land development code and the municipal land use law, currently permits warehousing and also currently permits data centers. And this developer came before this board a few months ago, as you all remember, and got a site plan approval for 2 warehouse buildings, about 1.6 million square feet in total. Now they're back. The new application is to convert one of those buildings from a warehouse use to a data center use. Now, under the Hexa Builder redevelopment plan, 2 principal uses on the same site are not expressly permitted. And under the municipal land use law, as well as your land development code at section 175-127, no lot shall have upon it more than 1 principal permitted use, except for a residential dwelling unit on a lot used for non-residential use, and a few other very minor exceptions to that rule. The Hexa redevelopment plan does not expressly state that multiple principal uses are permitted on the same lot, nor does it state anywhere in that plan that that section of the code is being superseded by the Hexa redevelopment plan. So, under that, there's a possibility that typically, under the municipal land use law as well as your regular code, that would require a D1 use variance to go forward, which the planning board does not have the jurisdiction to grant. Only a zoning board can do that. Also, under redevelopment, since this is subject to both the MLUL to some degree and the local redevelopment and housing law, typically zoning boards are cut out of the process of redevelopment. It's the governing body adopting a plan, which was done here, and then the planning board reviewing those plans. So I don't know that even the zoning board would have the jurisdiction to grant a D1 use variance for this. Typically under redevelopment, that requires an amendment to the redevelopment plan to permit something that would otherwise trigger a D variance. I do have to note that in the redevelopment plan, it spells out a few of the processes or procedures for granting deviations from the plan. Under section Roman numeral 1, then letter I, then 6, then C, in the Hexa redevelopment plan, it says that redevelopment activities shall be in conformance with the redevelopment plan, which may be amended in accordance with the requirements of the local redevelopment and housing law. Then it says deviation from the terms hereof shall be addressed by way of an application submitted to the planning board. Now, as I said, typically, in a redevelopment plan, anything that changes a permitted use requires an amendment to the plan. And I view this as where it says redevelopment activities shall be in conformance with this redevelopment plan. I see that as essentially the larger, the bigger uses here. The list of permitted uses, which warehouses are on that list and data centers are currently on that list, but not both of them at the same time. That's not expressly permitted. And I view this where it says the planning board can grant deviation from the terms hereof. I see that as the same way you can grant bulk variances and design waivers under the municipal land use law that you do under any subdivision or site plan that comes before this board. So that being said, my opinion is I don't think this board at this time would have the jurisdiction to hear the application because multiple principal uses on the same lot are not expressly permitted.
And your testimony, consistent with my understanding, is that this board does not have the authority to amend the redevelopment plan, correct?
No, only the governing body can amend the redevelopment plan.
And this body does not have the authority to grant a D1 variance if a D1 variance is even available under a redevelopment plan, correct?
Yeah, under the municipal land use law, only a zoning board can grant a D1 variance.
The application, does it include a request to amend the redevelopment plan?
No, I don't believe it does.
And does the application include a request for a D1 variance to allow multiple uses on a property?
No, it does not.
Okay. On that issue, is there anything else you want to tell the board?
I think that covers it.
All right. So, Mr. Chairman, if we could turn to Mr. Maley, if, Mr. Maley, you received I'm sorry.
If I can add, I'm not sure that Mr. Dockney put on the record the first prong under deviations. There was also a section right above that that talks about, he mentioned the words redevelopment activities shall be in conformance with the plan, which may be amended in accordance with the local redevelopment and housing law. The activities shall be in conformance with the current plan, which may be amended. Only deviations can be, according to the current plan, can be applied to the planning board for deviations. I know Chris talked about those being more minor in nature than activities or uses. I just wanted to make sure that the board was aware that the actual Hexer redevelopment plan says that activities shall be in conformance with the plan, which may be amended, and that would be by the governing body.
Not this board, I understand.
Yeah, just to reiterate that, my interpretation of that particular section of the redevelopment plan is that the list of permitted uses in the area everything has to be consistent with that. And that if you want to change the permitted uses, that would require an amendment to the plan. But other deviations from the terms of the plan, namely some of the bulk standards and the design standards, which there are numerous in here, the design standards and bulk standards can be granted by this planning board as a part of the site plan approval process. But I don't get the impression reading this redevelopment plan that this board has the authority to grant use deviations from this plan.
Okay. Thank you. So, Mr. Chairman, I would ask you to call on Mr. Maley, who's here on behalf of the applicant, Hexa, to respond to that issue as to jurisdiction.
Mr. Maley?
Sure. Good evening. My name's Jim Maley from Maley and Givens on behalf of the applicant. The analysis which
Okay. People are,
Please.
Let him use one of your microphones. It seems to be better. Maybe they.
is this any better? Am I? Is it working?
hello?
How's this? Any better? I'm here, speaking here.
I can hear you.
I don't know that that's any better.
It's getting recorded, right? Okay.
Yes.
So we're happy to respond to this. We received Mr. Dockney's letter yesterday, and in his analysis, he relies upon section 175. Give me 1 second. He relies on your code in Article 8. Section 175.27 is where there is a prohibition about dual principal uses. That, however, is not part of your zoning code. That provision has to do with, that section of the code is not your zoning code. Your zoning code is in Article 13 of the Township Code. So it would, if anything, it would require a deviation when site plan is reviewed, but it does not require a D1 variance as a zoning variance because it is not a variance from your zoning code.
Understand the position, is it consistent with the plan itself? Doesn't it require an amendment to the plan to permit more than one use?
It is consistent with the plan. The plan's been determined by this board to be consistent with the master plan. The adoption of the data center as a use has been approved by this board, approved by the governing body, approved by the Pinelands Commission, and there is no prohibition on dual uses at the site. And just for the board, if this is an issue, we're happy to make the entirety of the site a data center, and that will then remove this issue. Okay? We're happy to amend the application in the process to make it all a data center.
Okay.
We don't want you.
We
know you don't want it. Let's be courteous, please. Please, be courteous.
Okay. Mr. Valley, is there anything else? Is there anything else you'd like to add about the issue of jurisdiction?
No, that's really it. The rest of it, on we have
Please, quiet down so we can get this on recording.
simply that there's nothing in the redevelopment plan that prohibits. Mr. Dockney is relying on a section that is not your zoning code, saying that you need a zoning variance for it. Kind of fits a theme that we're going to be talking through tonight. And so it's just simply inapplicable.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, I think it would be appropriate to call on your engineer to review his review.
Okay, Tim, please.
All right. All the way in your mouth. Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Chairman. All right, I have a review letter to the board for the public date May 7th, dealing with completeness only. All right. Starting on page 4.
Use your microphone! How hard is that?
People are going to be...
It's not working, obviously, it's 2026.
Okay.
Will you stop yelling? Tim.
Continue?
Yes, please.
All right. So I'm going to read some from the review letter and then make some other comments. So, middle of page 4, based upon our review of the submitted items, we have determined that this preliminary major site plan application is incomplete unless the following underlined items are granted a waiver for completeness or deferred by the planning board to be provided as a condition of approval. First section deals with the number of copies of the major site plan and the contents of the site plan, which is primarily the drawings, but it's more than just the drawings. And they're found in section 3.2 of my completeness review letter. So the first one, in accordance with 175-71A, and that's where the submission items for the plan are found in our code. I'm only going to list, and that the letter only lists those items that are outstanding, that are incomplete from our submission requirements. First one, number 1, the preliminary site plan shall be drawn to a scale no less than 1 inch equals 100 feet, but consideration shall be given to a smaller scale, typo, not scare, scale, if it permits the total project to be clearly depicted on a standard sheet of the sizes permitted in the New Jersey map filing law. What I wrote after that is that the applicant has supplied plans within the plan set at 1 inch equals 150 feet to show the entirety of the project limits. So some of the drawings in the plan set meet the submission requirements, maximum 1 inch equals 100 feet. Some do not. Some show to fit the whole site on one sheet, it's at a larger scale, and it's little harder to read, a little less legible. Certainly at 11 inch by 17, it's really difficult. Number 2, the plan shall include, but not be limited to the following: topographic contours from USGS survey and so on, both on and the contour shall extend 200 feet beyond the boundary of the proposal. And we note at the end of that item that contours have not been shown extending beyond 200 feet of the subject parcel. That's letter A. Letter B, an architectural plan and views of each type of building shall be furnished and certified by an architect licensed in New Jersey. The architectural elevations submitted do not reflect full architectural plans and views. The documents submitted are also not certified by a licensed architect. Letter C, Existing and proposed stormwater drainage and collection systems shall be indicated and designed in accordance with the standards in Section 175-140 of our code. That's stormwater management. Information required by such standards, including hydrological and hydraulic calculations, soil boring logs, maintenance schedules, etc., shall be provided. There's another sentence, I'm not going to read that. Our conclusion on that section of the submission requirements is that the applicant has not supplied the required stormwater maintenance schedule with the submission. And then lastly, in this section, number 3, the plan shall be signed by the applicant and owner and shall include respective names and addresses. And the plans submitted do not contain signatures of the owner and applicant. So that's section 175-71A of our code. The next item, and now I'm going back to the middle at page 4, is letter E. For a development located in the Pinelands area of Monroe Township, application requirements in accordance with Section 175-57G, and that is in my final section 5. So I'm going to go back to that last. Actually, no, I'll go to that now since we're going in order. So if you turn to the last page, 6 of 6, actually, it starts at the bottom of page 5, section dealing with Pinelands certificate of filing. So in accordance with our code section 175-57G1, all applications for major development, and there's some exceptions, this is not one of them, shall be accompanied by the information required in NJAC 7:50-4.2B5, as well as the following. Letter A certificate of filing from the Pinelands Commission issued pursuant to NJAC 7:50-4.34, and then there's an exception, or until January 14th of 1991, well beyond that date. So when you go to NJAC 7:50-4.34, at 4.34B, and this is the Pinelands Comprehensive Management Plan, it says that no local permitting agency, I take that, i.e. this Monroe Planning Board, shall determine that any application for development is complete unless it is accompanied by a certificate of filing issued pursuant to this section. Again, the Pinelands CMP. Such certificate, goes on, may identify any inconsistencies. There was an inconsistent certificate of filing issued by the Pinelands for the prior application, and I think it may have had 5 inconsistencies in that certificate. But we now have knowledge that, one, the Pinelands Commission has required an amended certificate of filing for this application, which includes the data center. Secondly, the applicant, Hexa Builders, has filed an application for an amended certificate of filing to the Pinelands, along with the requisite fees. And then soon after, earlier this week, I believe, they then appealed that requirement of the Pinelands Commission that they have to get an amended certificate of filing. So that's kind of another jurisdictional matter, but I'll just repeat, no local permitting agency, i.e. Monroe Township Planning Board, shall determine that any application for development is complete unless it is accompanied by a certificate of filing. Should I pause or should I just wrap up?
I think you've got, keep going. Keep going with your review of your letter.
All right. So that might be not a jurisdictional, but it's certainly a completeness item. Okay. The next letter, now I'm back to page 4, and this is all stemming from section 175-61A2 of our code on what information is required to be submitted to the board secretary. So the next letter is letter I, which requires 13 copies of the environmental assessment prepared in accordance with section 175-99.1 of this chapter. And I note that no environmental assessment has been submitted. If you go to section 175-99.1, essentially it's talking about submitting what amounts to a phase 1 environmental site assessment of the property, but at the very end of that section, letter O, it says under the title, Further Requirements, upon review of the preliminary assessment, and again, one has not been supplied as required, upon review of the preliminary assessment by the Development Review Board engineer, and upon the recommendation of such engineer, the Development Review Board may require such other studies, tests, or environmental treatments and remedies as may be determined reasonable and necessary for the environmental safety and security of the site, including but not limited to a site investigation in accordance with NJAC 7:26E. So that is letter E of submission items required to be submitted to the board's secretary, or, I'm sorry, that wasn't E, that was I. And then finally, would be letter J, any additional documents as may be requested on the applicable application form as are reasonably necessary for the board to make an informed decision whether the requirements necessary for approval have been met. And I noted in my review for completeness that additional information is required to evaluate the electrical infrastructure areas comprising more than 3 acres of land area on this site. Other additional documents that I also suggest would be required in order for the board and us professionals to make an informed decision on the current application would be items such as a vibration study, a glare and heat study, information regarding how the site, how the data center would be powered and fueled and emissions therefrom, a water consumption and thermal management report, how much water usage and how is the building and the equipment going to be cooled. An environmental impact statement would be.
Excuse me, Mr. Solicitor, none of this that he's testifying to is in his report. None.
Noted. Yeah. A noise control and impact study, an air quality and generator emissions study, a utility capacity certification, and an emergency response plan. I believe those reports, those 9 types of reports, studies, or types of information would be the types of additional documents that would be necessary in order to fully evaluate it. Lastly, I'm in receipt of a letter from the township engineer, not with what I just said, as Mr. Mattingly mentioned, the things I just mentioned are additional documents that I thought about over the weekend and up till tonight that I believe the board can request. I'm not saying that that's a completeness item, that's something for, discussion further, but, should an application go forward, those are things that I think the board has the right to, per our code, to require to be furnished at some point down the road. And, but setting that aside, everything else in my review that's in writing, dated May 7th, your township engineer has concurred with those findings, and I believe actually opined that, in his opinion, feels that this application should be deemed incomplete.
Can I ask you about the comment you made about the electrical infrastructure area.
Yeah,
So on the plan, there's an area that's called out as an electrical infrastructure area?
many different areas throughout the plans,
Is that
throughout the site.
Is it a small area like the size of a trash receptacle, or is it a large area?
No, just on quick calculation, it totals over 3 acres, spread out throughout the site.
How many sheets are in the plan?
49, 42?
Did you review the plan to see if there, on any of those 40-plus sheets, any details about what this 3-acre electrical infrastructure area is?
Yes,
And what detail is there?
there are none.
So I understand that you did not reference the types of things that the board might ask for in terms of additional information in your report.
Right.
But if there was additional detail about what's in the electrical utility area, would that prompt some, if not all of those types of additional reports to be requested?
Yes, I believe so.
So without knowing what's in those areas, the board doesn't even know what additional information to ask for?
Correct.
Okay.
But they are permitted to ask for additional information.
Right. But you need to know what's on the plan to ask for those other documents, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. But one can, with the data center, have some general idea of what to ask for.
Yeah, but fair enough.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you want to share with the board at this point?
No.
All right. So, Mr. Malley, you did receive a copy of Mr. Kernan's report?
Yes, we did.
And I believe you also received a copy of the township engineer's letter?
Yes, we received the township engineers this afternoon, I believe, yes.
was-
His one-line
Yesterday.
letter that said, yes, whatever he said, I agree with.
Well, I think it was
Yes.
more than one line, but
It was,
we'll leave
no,
it at
I think
that.
it might have been 2
It
sentences.
was longer than that. Would you like to respond to Mr. Kernan's
I certainly would.
comments? Thank you.
And I'm going to just kind of do my response just generally, just to talk through where we are with all this. At the end of 2025, the redevelopment plan for the Hexa site was amended by a combination of this board and the governing body to make data centers a permitted use. After that plan was amended in 2025, this board had discussion in the beginning of February, an agenda item discussion about what, if any, standards you should set for data centers. And that discussion led to your asking your engineer to work up standards. And in the redevelopment process, they reviewed those standards with Hexa's team, with the engineers. And there was an exchange and back and forth about what the standards would be. Those standards addressed issues that in the final version that was never introduced by the governing body, but was ready to be introduced, but that final version would have required a data center to take no power from the grid, to have a closed-loop water system, unlike a lot of older data centers that it would basically fill with a water containment system and not be refilled regularly, would have a closed-loop system. And there were standards for noise attenuation to reduce and subside the noise. Those were the standards that this board worked up, and with the engineers and Hexa's team came up with those standards. We did not file any application for land use approvals for a data center while those discussions to set standards were ongoing. So in February, in March perhaps it was, when the governing body decided that it was changing course and was instead, largely because of a lot of people in the crowd, but they were going to change course and going to do,
No one in Monroe Township wants it, let's be clear.
when,
Please.
I'm trying to talk, but the crowd's too loud. But
Please.
when the town indicated they were going to change course, we sent correspondence to the governing body objecting to the proposed total ban on constitutional grounds, on grounds it violates the MLUL, and also because we had been dealing with the township in good faith, holding off any application while standards were adopted that would in some ways limit the data center. So then at the meeting where a change in course was identified, the mayor said some things, and I just want to go over them because this is the night when all of this changed. And I'm highlighting a couple sections here. So and these are his words. So what happens now in the meantime, right? What if a data center were to come immediately and apply and there were no zones for them to go? We will ensure that it's absolutely denied. We are here as elected officials this evening saying that we're going to do everything in our power to stop all data centers from coming here. We're encouraging both of the boards, the planning and the zoning board, to deny any applications for that use, knowing that you know what our position is, and I don't think either board would ever issue any approvals for data centers, knowing what this township position is and the direction that we're going. With outright banning of the data center uses, our professionals, planner, engineers, again, our attorneys, they're assigned to guide those boards as well, so that some professionals that are working are creating a lawful ordinance. We'll also encourage and lead those people to block any data centers from coming until we get an ordinance in place. That's when things changed. And so we filed, remember, you've already granted preliminary site plan approval for a warehouse use at this property. You did that even after a data center was already a permitted use at this property. What we're here for tonight is completeness. At the end of Mr. Kernan, the last third of what he spoke of, at the end his words were, let me get the right words, that these different reports are necessary to fully evaluate the application. In other words, before you're ready to vote to approve a site plan, yes, you need to get reports and you need to get that updated. But it is not part of a completeness review. The completeness review under your code is a section that is in the original letter done by Colliers, cites to the correct section. It's 175-71. Portions of Collier's recent letter do not rely on that section, rely on a different section that has to do with final site plan approvals. That's all the discussion of electrical substations, all of that list of things that he went over, the environmental assessment, the environmental assessment is addressed for final site plan, not for completeness. There's been a directive from the governing body. I know Mr. Kernan was sitting, I think, right here and heard the full everything that was declared by the governing body that they would take steps to stop the application. And now we have professional reports that are just making up reasons, okay? We have already had a completeness determination. A lot of the documents, I'm going to go through one by one, but a lot of the documents were provided as part of the initial preliminary site plan approval request, and they are still there. They still count. We're just simply amending that application to now convert the use to a use that is permitted and actually have reduced the footprint, okay, of the property. So let me just review. I want to hit each of the, and I have a submission that I'd like to provide to the board. I'll bring it up both ends, maybe to pass it around.
I'm going to ask again for everyone. Everyone up here understands and appreciates how important this issue is. The outbursts do not help this board render a decision and then defend it.
So I'm not going, the letter just, the letter and the attachments just expand on these issues. I'm just going to run through real quickly and touch on each of the points raised in the Collier's letter. We've already discussed the planner's letter. That's fine. I brought plenty. So, copies of the environmental assessment report. That's one of the things cited by Collier's. Not required under Article 10, under your section, under your ordinance about what's required for completeness to be filed for preliminary site plan, not required. It can be required for
Chair, can
your
I-
final determination. They can ask for
Now
more.
or wait? Okay, because that's not accurate.
I'll tell you what, I let you speak through it all, and now I get to speak.
Let him talk, and then we'll come back to you.
The information for electrical infrastructure, not required under Article 10. Required for review and final decision on a site plan, but not at this stage, not for completeness. The scale of the plans, this is great. The scale of the plans, 1 to 150. These plans are done exactly the same scale that the plans were that were submitted as preliminary site plan approval, and that was deemed complete, and you acted on it. Okay? What date was what? I'm sorry. Sure.
If you don't want them to speak, don't
Oh,
engage with
I didn't
them.
know, I couldn't tell if that came from back, here.
I'm a little confused. I'm trying to follow what you're saying. Am I supposed to be following along with this or whatever?
You don't need to. That just goes over in more detail the points of what I'm raising here.
I don't know. He's reading off the Collier's letter.
Yeah, well, listen, we got the letters, Friday, yesterday, and today. Okay? So it's not like I had plenty of time to respond.
Just trying to follow along with what you're saying, so.
Please.
I'm just trying to follow along with what you're saying. I didn't know. I'm just trying to follow along with what you're saying. And I'm a visual person, so if I can.
I'll try and go through them, okay? The letter, the environmental assessment report. That's what I just discussed, and what it says there is that it's not required under your ordinance requirements for completeness, okay? Two different issues, completeness, final site plan review and approval. You all know during the course of an application, there's an application filed, and then there usually are several requests back and forth for more information from an applicant. The board would like to see this, the board would like to see that. They all go into your final determination, but they are not completeness. That list of reports that Mr. Kernan went through, that those are all things, it sounded like it was required for completeness. At the end, he said, it's for your final review. It's not for completeness. And that goes back to my whole point. This is all, all being directed to try to find a reason, okay, to declare it incomplete. So that's the environmental assessment. I'm going right through the letter for you, okay? The electrical infrastructure, okay? Same thing, not required under your code. Your ordinance for what's required by preliminary site plan does not require it, okay? You can ask for it after, but it does not affect completeness. The scale of the plans, that's what I just touched on. That scale of the plans gives flexibility and ability to be flexible, and we simply note for you, the scale of these plans is the same scale of the plans that were submitted for the preliminary site plan approval, and there was no problem then. But now there's a problem because the scale's off, okay? It's probably the most absurd reason I've ever heard in a site plan.
You want this or not?
Topographical contours. There's not full plans to show it. In the Collier's letter, half of the letter is the list of all the documents that were submitted with this amended application. And in there, you'll see 8 or 9 of them are listed as the topographical surveys, okay? And your ordinance says that you need to provide that survey unless there's an actual field or topographical survey provided. That's what we provided. That satisfies the requirement of your ordinance. The architectural plans. The issue here is that they do not fully reflect. We provided building elevations for all 4 elevations of the warehouse building and the data center plan, and those, you can certainly ask for more detail, but those plans were submitted, and that makes it complete. There's an issue about the architect's signature.
Please, let him talk so we can get it recorded. You're not helping out.
So the issue is that an architect's plan was submitted, but, in the plans, there's usually a little box for the signature, and it's not signed. Well, it's not signed because it's not final. It's not required to be signed at this stage for completeness, and your ordinance reads, it needs to be submitted in tentative form for discussion purposes. So in essence, they submit drafts of those plans. When we go through the process with the board and it's approved, if it's approved, then they get finalized and that architect signs. There's a spot on it where it's left open for him to sign. It is those kinds of issues about completeness, in our opinion, show that this is just a sham, okay? It's just a sham. The stormwater maintenance schedule. In the original application, a stormwater maintenance schedule was provided. It exists. This is what's being amended right now. That exists. They can ask to see changes, see if anything's different, but there is one on file for this site plan application. The owner and the applicant's signatures, I went looking just to make sure, because I thought I misunderstood what Mr. Kernan said, that, that they didn't sign the application. I thought that's what he said, but they signed the application. The issue is, again, on the plans, there's a space for their signature, and it's not signed, because the obligation here is to submit tentative plans. It's for the board to look at. Many times those plans change, and when it gets final, then it gets signed by everybody, the engineer, the architect, the owner, before it gets recorded and it gets filed. And finally, this issue on the certificate of filing for the Pinelands. This, again, is amending an approval that was already granted by this board. That approval had its certificate of filing from the Pinelands. The Pinelands approved your inclusion of data centers in the redevelopment plan. They approved that. This application, which was copied over to them very quickly for Pinelands, got out a letter saying, we have to submit a full-blown application. We have appealed that, as Mr. Kernan noted. We have appealed that because we know we deal with other projects, much bigger projects than this, where the Pinelands has simply said, you just rely on your original certificate of filing. If there are changes, they let us know, especially in this application where the only changes made to the footprints of the building are making them smaller, okay? It's not taking over any more land. So that is my review of those letters. We already talked about Mr. Dockney's and his suggestion that it needs a zoning variance is not based on anything in your zoning code. I just want to state for the record, Hexa believes that we have supplied all the items required by your ordinance, and even by the checklist on your application, which I'll note has not been adopted by ordinance and has some items in it that are not required by your ordinance. We've supplied those as well, okay? That if the board deems that there's any issue or any item that we have not supplied, then we request the board consider and decide a waiver of any of those items that you have deemed to not have been submitted. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Malley. Mr. Chairman, can I ask Mr. Malley just a few questions? You hold the mic. So I appreciate your comments. It sounds to me like one of the arguments you're making is that 175-61 doesn't apply for the completeness analysis, that only 175-71 applies. Do I understand that argument correctly?
Hang on one second.
Sorry.
Get my notes. You're throwing numbers around at me.
Your argument was, one of your arguments was 175-61 is Article 9, 175-71 is Article 10, and 175-71 is the completeness standard, completeness checklist, 175-61 in Article 9, and the things required by 175-61 shouldn't be considered by the board for completeness. Do I understand that correctly, or did I misunderstand you?
Ed, I apologize, but just give me one more time.
Yeah.
What do you say? What are you
I
saying?
thought you were making a distinction between 175-61 and 175-71 under the ordinance. I thought you were saying that Mr. Kernan's
Yes.
reference to
Correct.
175-61 was incorrect.
Correct. 175. So the code doesn't have anything to talk about what's required for an amended preliminary or final, okay? It doesn't talk about that. We just simply went on as though this was a new application, relying on documents that have already been filed. But yes, 175-71 is preliminary major site plan, and I'll note that Collier's letter, when this application, the original application came to this board, that's all they rely on in that report letter, is 175-71. Tonight, we have a new section they rely on.
And that section is 175-61, correct? That's the one that you think we shouldn't be looking at?
Yes, correct.
All right. So just for the board's edification, 175-61A, first of all, 175-61 is major site plan review. This is a major site plan. 175-61A is preliminary review. And 175-61A sub 1 begins preliminary major site plan applications, which is what this is, and required attachments shall be submitted when the applicant proposes a site plan that meets the definition of requirements of a major site plan. The next item under A is 2, and that incorporates by reference 175-71, which has all of the Pineland requirements that Mr. Kernan reviewed. And if I scroll down to 175-61, subsections 3 through 10, it lays out what the process is that this board has to follow to determine completeness. 3 is the board shall immediately upon receipt note the date of the application and mark it as filed and given a number. And 4 says the board secretary shall send the items submitted to the board's engineer. And 5 says the board's engineer shall review the items given to them by the secretary. And 6 says the engineer is going to prepare a report. 7 says that upon review of the board, there's a site plan advisory board that was supposed to review, which my understanding is the township doesn't have anymore. Paragraph 10 says that if the site plan review advisory board fails to furnish its report, we don't have such a board, the board may act within the statutory and ordinance time periods. The board may proceed without such report or recommendations. 9, the paragraph before that, is the review of completeness. Everything from 3 to 11 under 61, ending in 11, the board shall formally determine the completeness of submitted applications in accordance with 175-37B. So I respect Mr. Malley, and I understand the argument he's making, but I would tell you that the analysis begins under 175-61, which sets forth the protocol for you to review an application to determine whether or not it's complete. And that section incorporates by reference 175-71, which Mr. Malley agrees applies, and Mr. Kernan reviewed. And it also tells you that you must make the application in accordance with must review the application in accordance with 175-37B. And I will tell you that 175-37B from your ordinance is virtually identical to a provision of the MLUL, which requires the board to review an application for completeness within 45 days. So, for the board's edification, the process begins with 175-161. It incorporates by reference 171. And to the extent that there's a requirement for Pineland certification, it is clearly, if you follow all those ordinances, it's required. And the requirement for environmental assessment is also a requirement. So those are legal issues. I understand Mr. Malley's argument, but I would tell the board that I think you are in an appropriate position to follow the decision tree, if you will, starting with 161, incorporating by reference the other sections that 161 references, which is 71, and the Pinelands requirements, and the requirement for a environmental assessment.
Mr. Campbell?
If I may.
Sure.
Let
Mr. Malley go.
Section 1, so you have two different sections, as you're referring to here, right? Two different sections.
Yep.
That if you read the 61 as the way you read it, then you have two conflicting ordinances that tell you what is required for preliminary, for completeness, okay? But I'll direct you to 175-37B,
Yep.
right? And the standard for the completeness determination is when Article 10, under Article 10, is satisfied. When the items under Article 10 are satisfied. 175, 61, and 61 that you're referring to is not in Article 10.
Well, if you go to 175-37C, I'm sorry, D, it says an application shall be considered complete when the plans, documents, and supporting information includes all items in Chapter 175, Article 10, in accordance with 13 and 14.
Right, all the items required in 175, Article 10. It doesn't say items required in Article 9.
Well, 61 incorporates by reference 71. So we can have this debate.
Well, that's all.
My
I
hunch
just
is-
went on the record, that's the distinction here, that's all.
Understood.
Thank you.
We'll probably have this argument another time.
Can I extend that?
Sure.
Discussion and argument? With that logic from Mr. Malley, then this board would have to deem an application complete without an application form being submitted as required at 175-61, without an application fee, without an escrow fee, without an escrow agreement, without certification from the tax collector. So you would have to deem an application complete without an application form or fees, just with drawings and a stormwater report. I find that hard to believe, but hey.
It's all right.
We just go on what the ordinance says, that's all.
Right. So, Mr. Malley, is there anything else you'd like to tell the board?
That is all, thank you.
I have a question through the chair to Tim. Tim, to get back to the certificate of filing with the Pinelands.
All right.
When they originally applied, they had the certificate for the warehouse, correct?
The first application?
Okay, yeah.
Yes.
They knew they needed that certificate, right?
Yes.
Okay, so now they're applying for two uses, and that requires them to go back to the Pinelands to approve two uses on that location,
To
correct?
get an amended certificate.
Amended
of filing.
certificate.
Yes.
Of filing, which they
Yes.
applied. And now they're asking for reconsideration that they don't even need that, right?
They're asking the Pineland, they're appealing the
Appealing it,
Pinelands
thank you.
directive.
So that's still pending. So as it stands
That's
right now,
Days old.
as it stands right now, they have no certificate of filing with the Pinelands, which is really one of the, what I understand from being up here, is one of the first steps, because if they don't permit two uses on the property, everything else is irrelevant, that they can't do that. Is that correct? I'm just clarifying what you said.
Yes, and my last paragraph in my letter says that this board can't act until,
Right, because you need step 1 first before you can go to step 2, and
Correct.
certificate of filing with the Pinelands.
That's
If
how
they
I-
deny that, they would have to...
that's how I see it.
Well, that's what
Yes,
it's always been.
right.
Even when somebody comes in from the public and applies for a zoning permit, they want to do 2 uses on the property, and they're in the Pinelands, one of the first steps is, if not the first step, is to get a certificate of filing, because there's no sense of going any further until they have that, because it would be just spinning your wheels, correct?
Yes.
Okay, thank you for clarifying that. Thank you. Thank you.
Give me one moment, Mr. Chairman. 37B. So, Mr. Chairman, I think the next order of business would be for the board to consider whether or not they want to deem the application complete or incomplete. And, well, the board has to make that decision, and if there's a motion,
Please, let him talk.
the board under the law has to make that decision, and I would tell you that you have to make the decision based on the representations that are made by your professionals and their letters, and the standard is whether or not the deficiencies or omissions in the report impair your ability to fairly, adequately, and fully evaluate the application. And so if a member of the...
Through the chair?
Yeah.
Could you explain to the public how we vote, that we put the, up in a positive way, and then we vote? So this way they don't think...
No. So in...
No, well, just listen for a second.
No, I don't think you're required to do that under these circumstances. You can vote, someone can make a motion to deem the application complete, someone can make a motion to deem the application incomplete. In a zoning hearing, where you want to have, where the issue is whether, an application fails for lack of 5 affirmative votes, then the application is always in the affirmative. You don't need to do that for this purpose.
Okay, I stand corrected.
I'm sorry, could I jump in really quick? Did you want to determine jurisdictional issues first or completeness?
Well, I'd like, if the board votes on jurisdiction and determines there's no jurisdiction, then we're done, right? So I'm not inclined to do that, because I think the record should reflect collectively what the board's thought is. So the motion could be to deny the application or to determine that it is, we have a lack of jurisdiction, but in the alternative, that if we have jurisdiction, that it is incomplete. I think it's important to put the completeness on the record, because we've got a 45-day requirement to make that determination.
Right, fair enough.
I'll do it.
Okay. I'm going to make a motion to deem this application incomplete. Can I get a second?
Second.
We'll have a roll call vote. Please. Please, will you sit down and be quiet, please?
I second that it's deemed incomplete.
We'll have a roll call vote. Please, be quiet, please.
Mr. Hessel, to deem it incomplete.
I deem it incomplete.
Ms. Kennedy.
Yes, I deem it incomplete.
Ms. Fox.
Deem incomplete.
Mr. Giacomucci.
Incomplete.
Mr. Kozak.
Since they don't have the certificate of filing from the Pinelands, and they're still pending that, I deem it incomplete.
Mr. O'Brien.
Incomplete.
Is it okay they're saying incomplete and not I?
Yes, they're
Mr. Frederelli.
agreed, incomplete.
And Mr. Young.
Since there's missing a lot of information, I guess incomplete.
Okay, that's everyone.
So, Mr. Chairman, before you proceed further, the ordinance requires you to inform the applicant of that in writing. So not knowing what the board was going to do tonight, I drafted two resolutions, one approving and one denying, or one deeming it incomplete. So I haven't had, since I did it today, I didn't have an opportunity to share it with the board to review it. I could either read it into the record and read it to you, or alternatively, take a short break so that the members of the board can read it, come back, and adopt the resolution memorializing your decision. Would you like me to read it? I can read it or take a break?
Let's read it.
Okay. So the title of the resolution is a resolution of the Planning Board of the Township of Monroe deeming an application for an amended preliminary major site plan approval as incomplete. The applicant is Hexa Builders LLC. The application is application number 562 SP. The property is at 3043 South Black Horse Pike, block 8401, lots 8, 9, and 10. It's in the RGMU zoning district, the RDRR rural development district, and in the Hexa redevelopment area. Whereas Hexa Builders, the applicant, applied to the Monroe Township Planning Board for amended preliminary site plan approval, the application, for the purpose of constructing two principal structures totaling 1,522,000 square feet, consisting of one 522,000 square foot warehouse facility and 1 million square foot data center with associated electrical infrastructure, parking, loading areas, driveways, circulation, stormway management facilities at the property. The application was, whereas the application was submitted to the township on or about April 8th, 2026. Whereas pursuant to the requirements of the MLUL 4055D 10.3 and section 17537B of the Monroe Township Land Management Ordinance, the borough considered the completeness of the application at a special meeting conducted on May 12th, 2026. Whereas the board's engineer, J. Timothy Kernan, of Colliers Engineering, the planning board's engineer, reviewed the applicant's application for completeness and issued a review letter dated May 7, 2026. The board's engineering review letter is hereby incorporated in this resolution as set forth fully herein. Whereas the township's engineer, Joseph Barbadero, issued a review letter dated May 8th, in which he concurred in the conclusions contained in the board's engineering review letter. The township's engineering review letter is hereby incorporated into this resolution as if fully set forth herein. The board's planner, Christopher Dockney, reviewed the applicant's application and issued a review letter dated May 11th, 2026, and collectively with the other review letters that are referred to in this resolution as the staff review letters. The planning review letter, Mr. Dockney's letter, is hereby incorporated into this resolution as fully set forth herein. The special meeting of the board that was properly noticed pursuant to the Open Public Meetings Act. The special meeting of the board determined that the applicant, at the special meeting of the board, the board determined that the applicant failed to include certain items required to be included in the application for preliminary major site plan approval pursuant to the ordinance, including but not limited to requirements set forth in 175-37.B, 175-61, and 175-71, the township's submission requirements. And such omitted submission requirements are necessary for the board to make an informed review of the application. Whereas the planning board desires to memorialize the aforementioned decision, and now therefore be it resolved, the board makes the following findings of facts and conclusions of law. Number one, the recitals set forth above are incorporated by reference as if set forth herein at length. Number two, the applicant's application and all related attachments, exhibits, and proof of notice publication, including affidavits relating to the application, the staff review letters, all communications between the township and the applicant and applicant's representatives, and other reports prepared by the board's professional staff are part of the record of this matter and indexed at Planning Board Application 562-SP. The applicant was given notice of the special meeting, was present at the special meeting, and was represented by counsel. The applicant was provided with copies of the staff review letters prior to the special meeting. The application included no request for waivers from the township's submission requirements. The property is in the Hexa redevelopment area, and the development of the property is subject to the Hexa redevelopment plan. Section 175-61 of the ordinance provides the protocol for the board's review of applications for major site plan review. Section 175-61A2 of the ordinance requires the applicant to submit certain specified items as part of an application for preliminary major site review, including but not limited to 13 copies of the plan prepared in accordance with 175-71. For development in the Pinelands area, the Monroe Township application are set forth and include those set forth in 175-57G, 13 copies of an environmental assessment prepared in accordance with 175-91. Section 175-61A11 requires the board to formally determine the completeness of the application in accordance with 175-37B of the ordinance. I then include 175-37B in its, the relevant portions of it, I quote. In the next paragraph, Section 137B closely parallels and is consistent with Section 4055D 10.3 of the MLUL. The board's engineering review letter noted the deficiencies in the application which are incorporated in this resolution by reference and recommended that the board not deem the application complete. The township's engineer reviewing letter concurred with the board's engineering review letter and recommended that the board not deem the application complete. The board's planning review letter noted, among other things, that the application proposed two principal uses, a warehouse and a data center, and that the Hexa Builders redevelopment plan does not expressly permit multiple principal uses on a single lot. The board adopts and incorporates the staff review letters in this resolution. The deficiencies in the application are significant. The deficiencies in the application limit and impair the board's ability to review and evaluate the application. Now, therefore, be it further resolved by the planning board that the aforementioned application is deemed incomplete. Is there a motion to adopt that resolution? The resolution is Planning Board 2726.
I'll entertain a motion to accept the resolution.
Second. Sorry, go ahead.
Was that Russ first?
Yeah, motion.
All in favor?
Roll call.
Mr. Kozak.
Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Kozak.
Aye.
Ms. Fox.
Aye.
Mr. Giacomucci.
Yes.
Ms. Kennedy.
Yes.
Mr. O'Brien.
Yes.
Mr. Young.
Yes.
Mr. Frederelli.
Yes.
Mr. Hessel.
Yes.
Thank you.
It's a public meeting. Open it to the public.
I'll entertain a motion to open up to public.
Motion. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Would anybody from the public like to speak?
Yeah, I don't think we need to get addresses, we're getting names, right?
It's just public comment.
Okay.
Good evening. Is this on? Good. My name's Animal. I live here.
One second,
Go ahead.
Animal.
No.
Thank you.
They don't have to be sworn in?
Just giving us public comment,
Public
right?
comment.
Okay, never mind, go ahead.
You sure?
I thought you had to be sworn
You're good.
in, but you're good.
You're good.
Okay. I've lived here for 20 years. I know what Hex is all about because I work for a company which I know he knows is an Arco Design Build out of Atlanta, Georgia. I built these buildings up to 1,500,000, 1,800,000 square feet, which is designed basically for warehousing, not for data. Truck docks, truck parking, construction. This type of project that they want to do is going to take a good year to put 1,000,000 and a 522,000 square foot building. It's going to disrupt everything around that area. You will have concrete trucks coming in and out constantly, steel trucks rolling in constantly. I understand it. A topo was sent to the township for review. You know what a topo is.
Sure. We know what a topo is. The application has what's in the application.
So you have no topo.
No, I'm not saying that. The application, I believe, has topo.
Okay. You have no boring samples. Did they purchase the property?
We're happy to hear your comments.
Well, I'm asking because I'll give you my comment if you give me an answer. Did they purchase the property?
Did who purchase the property?
Hexa.
Yes.
All right, so which means they purchased the property, which means they have to supply samples to the township for boring samples to see if whatever they do there does not suck up the water out of the ground. He wants to put a data center, which we all know sucks up a lot of water. All right? These people here are hardworking people. They don't mind if Monroe Township expands in the proper way, not for what they want to do. So, right now, I'm just saying, you all better look out, because if you approve a data center, you're all going to be looking for new jobs. Guaranteed, this township will not tolerate it. So, gentlemen, I thank you tonight for what you've done. You also. I don't follow your codes, but again, I mean, I've been in construction for over 20 years. I've built these warehouses. I know what it's all about. So I hate to see somebody really get hurt putting all this together. And yeah, warehouse, what kind is it? Bottom line, got to ask the question. It's a cold storage warehouse. It's going to take, is it going to take chillers? I know if it's a data center, they're going to have chillers, and chillers takes a lot of water. So it's going to affect this town, especially the electrical grid, because we're all paying high rates now. So,
Sure. It could be
again, gentlemen and ladies, thank you much.
Thank you.
Tim and Chris, you guys are excused. You guys can go.
You don't need to stay, it's just, it's not for the application.
Hello, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, and Mr. Patel's attorney. You can't hear me? I'll be louder. I could go louder. I'm Italian. I could go really loud. Mr. Chairman, members of the board, and Mr. Patel's attorney. I appear tonight not as a representative of Monroe Township, but simply as a resident who loves this community, and as a business person who believes there's a smarter path forward for everyone in this room. I want to speak directly to Mr. Patel's attorney. How you doing? It's okay. You don't got to look at me. It's okay. Stoic. I like it. It's tough. I like it. With respect to rancor, because I believe the most productive conversation tonight is not an argument about approvals, but an honest discussion about what makes good business sense and what makes good for neighbors. Wouldn't you agree? He agrees. He's twiddling his thumbs. He agrees. The realities of the road, we could go all night. The realities of the road ahead for Mr. Patel, and I say this with genuine respect, the opposition in this project is not going away. For months, the residents of Monroe Township have shown up passionately, persistently, and in large numbers to make their voices heard. That opposition led directly to a new township ordinance specifically addressing the data centers. The mayor and every member of the township council have gone on record unanimously, which you pointed out, so I know you know that, opposing this project and pledging to use every tool to fight it. As one business person to another, I want you to consider what it means in practical terms. New Jersey's municipal land use law gives residents and municipalities substantial tools, challenges to the environmental impact assessments, appeals, variances, contests, and litigation of the New Jersey Environmental Rights Act. A determined, well-funded opposition, backed by unanimous municipal government, can realistically delay a project this scale for 5 to 10 years. Attorney fees, expert witnesses, carrying costs on financial land, and other sheer uncertainty compound over time. Capital tied up with a projected legal fight is capital that isn't working for anyone. And I don't raise this to be adversarial, even though you seemed a little adversarial when you were saying you did projects much bigger than this, like you were a Goliath. Well, you got a whole bunch of Davids in this room.
Excuse me. Excuse me. Can you make your comment and not address him?
Of course I can. I raise it as...
It's open public comment, but it's not to berate anybody up there.
Mr. Chairman, I'm not berating. I'm trying to work cooperatively.
Okay. Please just make your comment and not address it to him.
I genuinely believe your time and resources are worth more than that because...
You'll get your turn. Everybody wait. You'll get your turn. Let him speak so you can hear him.
There's a better path forward. A better option is a Green Acres path. See, New Jersey's Green Acre program was designed precisely for situations like this, providing funding for municipalities and the state to purchase land that would otherwise be faced developmental pressure, preserving open space and community character in the process. I would ask you and the board and this township and the mayor and the council, who I'm sure they're watching it right now on YouTube land, to seriously consider whether cooperative acquisition under Green Acres might represent a genuine win for all parties. This approach has a proven track record straight right here in South Jersey. The former Smith Brothers Peach Orchard in Washington Township, over 100 acres of threatened farmland, was preserved through a combination of Green Acres funding, county open space, and local resources. The former Eagles Nest Golf Course in Sewell area, once slated for over 120 homes, became the Tall Pine State Perseverance Farm in 2015. I would respectfully encourage Mr. Patel to open a conversation with the township officials about whether this property might be a candidate for Green Acres acquisition, and for this township to reach out to Mr. Patel and Hex Developers to see if something can be worked on, because that's a better use of all of our time. A negotiated sales provides a return on his investment without years of carrying costs, without legal uncertainty, and without your reputation and relationships in this region intact. The township does not get a data center it has made clear it does not want. You exit cleanly with capital freed up for projects where your community is genuinely with you. The legislative wind is shifting. There's one more thing here to consider. There's a tremendous amount of effort and pressure in the Trenton to make a constitutional amendment to ban data centers in the state. If that happens, it's never going to happen. And the land value of this data center goes squish. So what we make clear, I want to be honest with the board and Mr. Patel's attorney about what I witnessed as a resident of this township. The opposition to this project has not been manufactured or organized from the outside. It has come from ordinary people, families, farmers, longtime residents who have shown up month after month because they care deeply about what this place is and what it remains. They have said plainly and repeatedly that they are willing to accept higher property taxes to preserve Monroe's rural character rather than trade it for a rateable data center might bring in. This is not a position of ignorance. It is a deeply held value that Monroe Township residents have. No approval, however carefully crafted, can create community acceptance when none exists. And a personal request. I know that Mr. Patel is is a genuine person, and I'm aware of his connection to the Baptist Swaminarian community in Robbinsville, a tradition that I hold in great respect, one that teaches harmony, service, and a profound reverence for the world which we are entrusted to steward. I would simply ask, not as an opponent, but as a neighbor, to prayerfully consider whether this path is truly the right one, and whether there may be a way for all of us to work together cooperatively towards something better. You're a clearly talented, accomplished developer with a great deal to offer. There are communities that need what you want to build, but it's not here in Monroe Township. So we just ask that this township extend the olive branch over to Hexa Developers, and they're looking to see, we don't want a data center, we don't want a warehouse, we don't want anything. We want our rural character. You all got the hotline phone to the mayor. I got his number if you don't have it. And to the council people. We have one council person here. And to start talking to the state. One of our assemblymen, Cody Miller, is a resident right over here. And to see if there's Green Acres money that we can do, if we can make a deal to purchase this property back and preserve this forever, so that we don't have a data center, we don't have a warehouse, we don't have a birdhouse. We just want farmland like we got. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Good evening, Council. My name is Dawn Haynes. I've been a resident of Williamstown for almost 38 years, I think. But I will say, when we first came, I loved Williamstown. A lot of things happened here, that the schools for my children, a lot of building, everything. And I really appreciate the love Williamstown, my community. And I must say, I was quite ignorant. I never even knew or heard about a data center until it started talking in town, and I thought, a data center? What? And when you look up the data center, there's a lot of downfalls. Plus, for the upside, there is the money that comes into our town. We're talking about billions of dollars for our schools, for education. I guess he could be able to tell us more as the lawyer of Hexagon, but it's like Hexa, sorry. But the long-term damage that comes from a data center should outweigh the ups that a data center could come. And I know AI is here to stay, but we really have to feel, what is this going to cost our community? And there are some long-term long-term associated with data, particularly accelerated by AI boom, which we have a massive consumption, environmental degradation, and a strain on local infrastructure. You have your water to consider. You have your electricity to consider. You have our depletion of our aquifers, because the data center takes a lot of water, we all know. Wasted water, where is that going to come? The environmental for the animals, the people. The humming that comes from a data center is at 90 decibels. And I don't know, I would think that you, as our board, are very well educated and would have looked all of this up. So I don't want to go on and on about it, but it's not what I want for our residents, including me. And plus, being a nurse, there's a lot of health issues that come with a data center. We don't know what those long-term, we do at this time. We have health problems, we have air, we have the emissions of a data center, methane, we have other different ones. I think it's called volatile organic compounds, which cause respiratory problems. We have the humming that can cause hearing loss. I don't know what to say other than I really would like us to consideration what our township will become if this comes. I do have some people that live in Violent, where there is a data center there, and they say that the humming, the lights at night, because it has to be lit, it's well secured. It's almost like a security compound once they come in. Like, you can't go in, you can't go out. So it's scary. And I think the residents of Monroe Township really feel that. And we want to spare our children of diseases that could come. We have elderly in our community, that the air pollution, the noise pollution, the environment, there's just so much to consider. When you do pros and cons of something, this has more cons than it does pros. And the only pro that I see is that it brings money, a lot of big money. And as we all know, nothing is for free. So thank you for letting me speak my piece. And hopefully, I'm not quite sure, I'm very confused when I read this. This is the first time I've ever been to a council meeting or zoning meeting, to where it said that the preliminary approval was presented to our planning board for a warehouse distribution center, not a data center. So if I could ask the lawyer of the Hexa redevelopment area, was a data center never brought in to that preliminary application, or did it come after?
So, ma'am, thank you for your comments.
Okay.
We appreciate it. This portion of the meeting is just for public comment, for you to address the board.
I didn't.
It's okay.
Like I said, it's my first time.
Yeah.
But I would have to
Well,
say,
welcome.
well then, can you guys answer that question?
Typically, the board doesn't take questions and answers, just listens to input from the community.
All right, thank you.
It's typically. Sorry. Okay.
My name's Everett Davis. I'm a resident of Williamstown. I had a long speech prepared. I'm happy this went the way it did tonight, but all of you know this is going to come back in a lawsuit. They're going to try to build it. This man's not just sitting here for the fun of it. He wants to hear what we have to say. But the problem here is accountability. We would not have even gotten to this point unless the data center was made an allowable use. It was made an allowable use by you. That answers your question. That's where this monster came from. That's how this monster got in here. The ban that was put in place isn't worth the paper it's on. This man right here, he's waiting to fight that ban. He's waiting to fight this decision that you guys made tonight. You must go back to excuse me. I'm going to just read a little bit of my speech. That way other people can speak. The truth is simple. Neither the developer nor the experts nor the township can honestly tell residents what the long-term impacts of living near a massive industrial data center will be in 10, 20, or 30 years from now. And that is exactly why residents are so concerned. Because when government approves something before fully understanding the long-term consequences, communities are the ones forced to live with the results afterward. Modern data centers can consume enormous amounts of water for cooling operations. They're talking about a closed loop system. Maybe that won't drain our aquifer. I don't have the plans. But I know people in Vineland. I know what they're experiencing. I know home values drop to nothing within a half mile of that data center. Is this township ready to drop taxes to those people that live within a half a mile of where this data center will wind up being if we lose this fight? Are they going to do that? No. Who's going to be paying the lawsuits 10 years from now when all of a sudden there's all these cancer clusters or other problems? Do the members of the planning board really want to play Russian roulette with the residents' lives? I am so ticked off about this entire thing. My problems with this township started when a 40-foot storage facility was proposed next to my development. We fought it, we won only because of the developer's stupidity, not because of the planning board, not because of the council. It was just dumb luck. Tonight, you found loopholes to deny this. That man's going to fight it, and there's a damn good possibility he's going to win. Going forward, when you're making decisions, making something an allowable use in this town, think, do I want this next to me? Because none of us want a data center next to us, and I'm assuming none of you live anywhere near where this proposed data center was. But there are many people here who are. Their houses that they may have paid off, great amounts of money, right down the toilet if the data center happens. Now, you might be able to tie this up. My strong suggestion is you start working round the clock and go back to the master plan. Start setting ordinance after ordinance after ordinance. Use everything they've supplied you and find every single loophole they could possibly use. And close every loophole. Use that, all those drawings, all that information they've given you, use it against them. Make it so that they cannot come back. Even if they win in court, and then they come back and there's a million ordinances in line that say, hey, you can't build here even though we made the mistake of making it an allowable use, you'll still have a fight. Maybe you can tie this up for 15, 20 years. That would be terrific. Maybe by then, data centers will be on the moon. Who knows? But in the future, every decision you make, think how it affects the people here. Because this decision was the worst that this township has ever made. I just want to finish up with one last part. because I really don't believe that the data center came in as an allowable use accidentally, or somebody was asleep at the wheel. I'm not saying it, but I think everybody here is saying it. Money's exchanged hands, most likely, either through donations, contributions, jobs, whatever it might be. In my opinion, I don't know. But let me tell you, the elect filings at elect.nj.gov, you can learn a lot about your township on there, especially when you look at who's hired and whose firms contributed. I mean, maybe these contributions are just to further democracy in Monroe Township. But I don't know why a firm in, let's say, Collingswood would donate a lot of money to certain politicians' campaigns unless they expected something back. This whole data center got in somehow. I mean, I would love it if the lawyer just said, hey, we paid off so-and-so, or we donated so much, but it is in the elect filings. You have to look at the law firms, look at the engineering companies, look at who donated, and look at where we are now. I plan on dying in my house, and thank God there's nowhere around me that could have a data center. But there's other things that could be put there. Once again, before approving anything in the future, think, do I want this right next to me? Because we're watching now. This is it. This is the first thing you try to sneak through. I'm hoping there's nothing else. I'm done.
Thank you.
Hi, everybody. Everybody here. My great-grandparents are from this town.
For the record, your name?
Well, they're no longer around.
I'm sorry, can you tell us who your name, what your name is?
My name is Wendy Pritchka. It was Johnson. As I said, my great-grandparents are from this town. I have watched so many zoning boards and wonderful people like you not allow decent businesses into Williamstown because we wanted to keep it farmers. We wanted to keep it this and that. We turned down the Kodak thing down on Bluebell Road and Corkery Lane that would have hired like 280-some people and a lot of high-priced educated professionals, but we turned it down. And it's just gone on like this forever. Do you realize what this will do to property values for the people around there? Do you care? I mean, really, for God's sakes, they're rich, let them get themselves out of it and go somewhere else. They always pick a lower socioeconomic place to go to because they bet the money will really entice the people whose decisions count. And it's so unfortunate. So if you let this whole thing go through, be proud of yourself that you're one of the people who could be bought off.
Hello, my name is Casey Palmer. I live in Pine Hill, Camden County. Mr. Maley here has done a lot of work in my county. So I do want to just point out that, you know, as Everett was saying, there's a lot of money involved between campaign finances and mortgages on undeveloped properties. But you have Collier's donating $3,500 to Wolf in 2026, and you have Remington and Veronick $10,400 in 2022 to Wolf, O'Reilly, Adams, and Heverly for Monroe. Collier's again in 2021 for $3,000, along with my favorite man, Lou Capelli, for another $7,200. There's so much money here. I'm from Camden County. I live there. I live in one of the most neglected parts of Camden County. Every month, I am asking Lou Capelli and company to, hey, you want to check out the lower half? But instead, here they are, funding you guys. Well, you're all appointed, but your bosses are all funded by them. At this point, I really don't have faith in you guys making the right decisions for the people because of how much money is involved. This is crazy, the amount of money in a local election. Wow. Phew, yeah. But there's also a donation from Ellie to Wolf in 2018 for $500 along with Parker McKay. Get Camden County politicians out of Gloucester County. I'm begging you, as a Camden County resident who is also fighting every day to get these politicians out. Stop taking their money. Thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Members of the Planning Board, my name is Eric. Okay. My name is Eric Footer, 2014 Burlington Circle, Williamstown, New Jersey. I just wanted to make a comment and voice my support of the fact that you did not approve this application, and I will tell you why. One of the things that we did not see in the application that was not presented was an environmental impact study. Well, okay, the applicants have made statements that they're going to have recycled water, okay, that they're going to have internal power generation, okay. They did not address, and it wasn't on the drawing, how they intend to generate their power. Now, on the drawing, it's basically a gray square where that is. Is that correct? So one of the issues, setting aside future ordinances or ordinances that are going on record, there is a pre-existing ordinance in this town right now, been there for years, that limits the amount of noise pollution that can be endured by the public. In this case, it happens to be 65 decibels at the property line. Typically, data centers that generate their own electricity that use reciprocating engine generators, diesel, natural gas, whatever the fuel source is, they're in excess of 150 decibels. So, what that means is they would need a variance from that requirement in the local code, which means zoning board, which is what the gentleman was saying in the first place, as far as who the appropriate board to hear any future application may be. They're going to have to require a variance from that ordinance. And that's been on the books for years. It's not something that, oh, well, we're just, because we don't like data centers, we're going to do it. No, that's been pre-existing. So if in reviewing determination of completeness, they would have to demonstrate for completeness that they're in compliance with our ordinances. They failed to do so because they didn't specify how that power is going to be generated. So I don't want to, I'm not going to, I know there's a lot of people behind me that want to talk up. That's fine, I'll get out of your hair. But if in the case of any future application along these lines, I agree with the professionals where they said a different jurisdiction may be needed, like the zoning board. Also like to say that in the first or the second gentleman that spoke about acquiring or seeking to acquire the development rights for the Hexa property, which is a comment I made at the last council meeting. So again, I'm going to restate that I would hope that the governing body and the mayor enter into a discussion with the developer concerning those rights. Because that's the one thing about an ordinance that says, okay, no more data centers. Well, that's great until a future governing body 10 years from now says, yeah, we're rescinding that ordinance. Or it goes to a zoning board where they want to get a variance. If the property is preserved in perpetuity, that's it. It's done. You can't do anything with it. And that sort of thing is prevalent throughout South Jersey. Cherry Hill, Washington Township, it's all about preserving the natural landscape of the Garden State. That's what it's about. In this particular case, I think that conversation would prove to be fruitful. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Testing 1, 2. Everybody hear me? Hi, my name's Kyle Redman. Moved here in Washington Township in 2024. I'm 30 years old, so I resonate with everybody in this crowd of cost of living going up. I feel those pressures and the pain from that, and this is really why I'm here today. Also, ironically, I work in cybersecurity. I'm a security engineer. I started as a network admin. I know a lot about data centers. I know a lot about racking switches. I know a lot about VLANs and technology. I currently work at Subaru of America. Yes, the car that a lot of people might drive. First and foremost, a lot of this is a lot of not lies from here, but lies of fake promises to build these centers to sell off to people that do not live here. They want to take data, they want to harvest the data, they want to learn about it, and sell it to people and businesses that are nowhere near here. They're across the world, they're in other parts of the country. Immediately, that doesn't benefit anybody in this room, doesn't benefit me. Property value, everyone's already talked about that. I'm not going to speak to that. I'm going to talk about this from a technical perspective a little bit. AI did not get created 6 years ago. ChatGPT was not the creation of AI. AI is compromised of machine learning and language models and MCP servers. A lot of the people making these decisions don't know any of those words I just said. That's first and foremost. Being in charge to make those decisions, to make these decisions that impacts everybody's lives around here is very dangerous and puts us in situations like this where you have to go back and forth and have to make sure that everything is being done correctly. A lot of like what other people said, we would like to see a more permanent solution moving forward from a zoning perspective to outright ban anything that even looks like a data center, because a warehouse can be a data center overnight. How do I know that? I worked at jobs where data centers became a warehouse. So we need to start looking at it from that perspective. Anything from a square footage perspective, that would make everybody in this room feel a lot better about not having to make sure that this isn't snuck behind us overnight. And back to the need and back to data centers. Well, Kyle, you work in data centers. Why wouldn't you be for this? We have enough data centers on this planet already. New Jersey is the last and the smallest, most dense state in the United States of America to be squishing one into. We don't have space for that. That's first and foremost. And we have ran, like I said, AI was not made 6 years ago. We've been running the world on network and topologies with existing data centers, with virtualizing server farms, with increasing what hypervisors can and cannot do. We have live streaming happening right now because of a server right now. It wasn't because of the one over there in our neighborhood. We don't need any more of them. We can optimize what we have today. We don't need any more of them. That's all I have from a technical perspective. Thank you, everybody.
Good evening, board. Good evening, Mayor Wolf, if you're watching. My name is Chris Stockman. I live at My name is Chris Stockman. I live at 638 Corker Lane here in Williamstown, and I'm here because the future of Monroe Township depends on how this board uses the power it was given earlier this year. Governor Wolf, when you and your council passed Governor, excuse me, my mistake. I don't know why I've been doing that a lot lately. She's on my mind, too. When Mayor Wolf, earlier this year, when you and your council passed Resolution R-78-2026, you gave this board a clear mandate to prepare amendments and revisions to the Hexa Builders redevelopment plan. While we appreciate the effort to, I thought, ban data centers, as well as add safeguards like 100-foot buffers and noise walls, What I am asking for is you to go further. I am asking you to use this resolution to recommend a full redesignation of this site. Now, is it okay if I address, even if I'm not asking a question, as part of a statement?
You can ask questions
Okay.
to the board.
Chairman Hessel, your professionals are currently researching changes to this plan. As they do, I urge you to look at the master plan consistency requirement. There is no version of our town's vision that finds 1.6 million square feet of warehouse campus consistent with the protection of the Kirkwood-Cohasset Aquifer or the safety of the Black Horse Pike. Next, the redevelopment loophole. Councilwoman Fox, you've seen how zoning by ordinance has been used to bypass the basic standards our residents expect. I am asking this board to recommend a formal redesignation of this site. We need uses that align with our community, like light commercial or open spaces, not an industrial fortress that ignores the character of our neighborhoods. Under the authority of R:70:2026, you have the right to suggest that warehousing is no longer the appropriate use for this land. Mr. Kozak, as you know, a tree replacement plan can never replace the 100 acres of recharge area we will lose forever if this project proceeds. Do not settle for a better warehouse. Use the power the council gave you in the resolution to recommend a redesignation that prioritizes light commercial or open space. Uses that actually align with the master plan and the long-term safety of our residents. We do not need a sound wall or a buffer zone. We need a land use that belongs in our community. Please, use your authority to protect our town, not just mitigate the damage. We are the garden state, not the farm state, and no, I do not mean agriculture. This warehouse/data center is a clear threat to our electric costs and our water being undrinkable. The pressure, almost next to nil. Please do what's right for Monroe Township, not people who don't even live here or care about us. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Stan, which microphone do I use? This one? Can you
Yep,
hear?
that one.
My name is Stan Pizzotzka. I live in Hunter Woods, Woodland Drive, Hunter Woods, 1650. Okay. As I look around here and I see, I've been coming here for a lot of weeks now, and I have this question. If the state makes recommendations, does the board usually follow recommendations that the state makes on things, or do you not follow them? Does anybody ever follow them or not follow them? Or how about the Pinelands too? If they make recommendations, do you kind of follow them when something happens, or do you ever look at their Does anyone know the recommendations for the setback on these units? You want to give them to me? Somebody? Anybody? You know? No, nobody. I'll give them to you, just so you know. And if they were applied, I doubt we'd have any warehouse or a data center. The setbacks for data centers, and I want to mention one other thing. There's a term called dirty hands. And in law, they use the term dirty hands. And keep that in mind. You go into a court and the judge realizes you have in some way told a mistruth, she declares dirty hands or he declares dirty hands. And at that point, the law no longer applies because you entered with dirty hands. Hexa entered with dirty hands. They said they wanted a warehouse data center or a warehouse distribution center. That's what they said. They never walked in and said, we want to build a data center. Now, they can't do that data center no matter what, because in this room, we asked the question. We knew it wasn't a distribution center. That's ridiculous. And nobody in their right mind would put a warehouse distribution center in Williamstown, New Jersey, because it's not near it. Logistically, it's a disaster. I'll say that. Then we were told, well, they do have a clause in there. It says if at any time they would like to switch it, they have a right. And Mayor Wolf and council explained that to me thoroughly in this room. And what that meant was, no, they can't just say they want a data center. If they want a data center, the whole process starts again. And they have to put a new application in that they're going to have a data center. And it has to go to the planning board. And it has to go through all the channels again. So they can't just make it a data center. It's a new application. So I don't even know why we're here after they told me that. Because if that's what's happening, you can't do a new application because we already banned them. So if you need a new application and there's a ban in effect, you can't go back and say, well, we already applied, because you didn't. You applied for a data. You applied not for data. You applied for a warehouse distribution center. So, again, I don't know really why we're here. Because he has to go through, Hexa has to go back through the whole thing from the start, from 2022 or whatever, and start the process all over again. Now, getting back to the issue about setback. On the size they're talking about, the setback recommended by the state of New Jersey for a large size center, and that's really 2 data centers. There's a 600, and there's, well, it's 500 and some thousand, and the other one's 900 and some thousand. That's over 30 ShopRites, the million square foot, and it's 1.6 million. But anyway, for for the situation for the setback, for that large of a center, the state says it should be 300 to 400 plus feet from any residential property line. But they recommend a half mile. But the recommendation, it has to be at least 300 to 400 feet. Look at the Pinelands, they come with the same thing. They talk about a large center. I mean, even for a small center, they talk about 200 to 300 feet. I think on the drafts I saw, they have a 100-foot setback, which that's not even close to a recommendation. And to me, that's a lawsuit for everybody involved. Because if you don't follow a recommendation, you just screw the citizens of our town. That's dangerous. That's very dangerous. I mentioned to the council, you guys, you have a tough job. You really do. And I admire you in a lot of ways. But your job is to protect us. And you can't use the rule, if one suffers, one suffers for the many. Don't look at it that way. In the Army, they don't do that in the service. That's why people actually get into it. Because no matter what, they don't say, well, we can't risk our lives for one man. It doesn't make sense. They risk their lives for the one man. So if we want to look and say, look, this is only going to hurt 20 people, 40 people, whatever it is. And we know also, we've all been educated now. We know it puts up pollution in the air, in the water, in this and that, and truck and oil. We all know that now. I didn't know it, so I was dumb. Now I know it. We know all that goes on. They know it. I just drove up from Florida. I went through towns, ban the data centers. Okay? People know it now. It's not like we're all stupid anymore. We know it. Now there's no excuse, because we do know it. So when we look at this, the damage it can do to people, and your job is the people here. I understand we need ratables. Okay, we understand that. Okay? But the people rely on, you're the only people they have, you, the council. That's what you were voted in for. I don't think anyone voted here. Did anyone vote here to put data centers in?
No, not a damn one of us.
Nobody. That wasn't what the vote was for. It was for you and you and you to protect me. All of you. If you had one of these things next to your house and behind your house, what would you do? Would you just burn your house down because it's worthless? Just walk away from it? And the other people, there's quite a few houses. There's a lot of houses and trees back in that area. So, as we go forward to this, it's got to end. It keeps going on. The can keeps getting kicked. The can can't be kicked. We had dirty hands to start with a lie. We entered with a lie, okay? Then we tried to switch it. The mayor himself, the council themselves, at that, right here, they said, if that were to be, if Hexa wanted to make it a data center, it would need to go through the complete process again. And it would never get through that. They didn't say it wouldn't get through it, but they kind of insinuated it. So I asked all of you to keep these type of thoughts in your mind. And someone said something, you know, this is a moment in history for Monroe Township. And if I were up there, I would never want to take the chance because, you know, if cancers develop, if this happens 10 years from now or 15 years from now, everybody will point to the people that did this, the people that did this to Monroe Township. And you don't want to be one of the names on that list, believe me. I thank you for all your efforts. And remember, look up these recommendations. You know, we should all know the recommendations, and there's a reason for those recommendations. That reason has to do with some of the pollution that comes off of it and the noise. That's the reasons. People can't live near them. A half mile is what they want to see as real favorable, but the recommendation is 300 to 400 plus feet for setback. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Helen Walker. We have lived in our house for 4 generations now. In that 4 generations, I have watched my area go from farm country, farms, orchards, woods, places I grew up picking fruit in as a child, watching my grandmother can it. All those orchards, gone. All of them. Most of the farms I grew up around, gone. The stars I used to be able to count by the thousands as a little girl laying in my backyard, can't see them anymore from all the overdevelopment in our area. Too much ambient light now. I have watched this town slowly take apart every single green area. Let's do what the other gentleman suggested earlier. Buy it back from the good sir here. Turn it into preserved land. Turn it into a park for our kids to play in. Something, anything other than clear-cutting more trees and ruining our environment and our town a little bit more. Anything other than that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for letting me talk. My name's Chris Petrillo. My address is 2822 Jackson Road. So a lot of people are talking about what this would do to the neighborhood, what it would do to the neighbors. I am that neighbor. You walk 1,000 feet out my back door and you would be inside this data center. So I thank you for what you did. I really appreciate it. And I know it's kind of kicking the can. It's kind of protecting ourselves from the eventual lawsuit, this, that, and the other. But I really do appreciate everybody in the town coming out to these meetings and just letting our voices be heard. Thank you, because this is my literal backyard. And the thing to think about, what I would like you to think about is, if this thing were built, would you buy my house? Would you come and just help bail me out? Because I would be living in absolute heck. I'm trying not to curse. But thanks for your time, and yeah.
Thank you.
My name is Linda Sullivan. I'm here from Williamstown. I do want, most of you all know me. Since I heard about the data center, I've been coming to the board meetings. This is the first time at the planning board. But I do want to thank you. I want to thank the engineers for doing a nice job. I think all of us appreciate it. We decided to, when we heard about the data centers coming, or not coming, but heard in the wind and smoke signals that went out, because that's how I found out about it. But anyway, I do want to appreciate that once we decided, we're all staying focused, and I appreciate it. I'm not really sure what's going on, but With the inconsistencies that were found, as far as like the infrastructure, the environment, the water drainage, total nitrogen reduction, what also is missing is the equipment specifications. Why wasn't that on the list? Why don't we have any equipment specifications on the list? Shouldn't we know? Because I'd like to know what's going on. There's no noise or acoustic. That's one of the biggest problems in Vineland is with the noise and acoustics. Not only that, it's the vibrations. Shouldn't we have some kind of documentation or specifications for that? I don't see any of that. Matter of fact, we weren't even, usually we're supplied with stuff to follow along with the meetings. We weren't really supplied, so it's very hard to follow the meeting today. I'm learning as I go to what questions to ask, what to look for, to guard and safeguard against this industrial monster that he wants to build that doesn't belong in our master plan here in Williamstown. Also with the equipment list, I have it all here. They have chillers, they have HVAC units, generators. It's all on cooling methods and stuff. Water consumption, power draw. None of this information. There's nothing that I saw in whatever was on our emails that was sent out. Nothing. Where's the equipment list? All right. I don't understand where that is. Is there a way we can get some more information so we can follow these meetings? Because I'm like I said, learning as I go along, and I really want to protect myself. I'm a resident here. My sons bought homes here. My grandchildren are growing up here. I do this. I'm all about bringing businesses in, but you're bringing a business and you're destroying the next business right next door. Hospitality Creek, I'm sure if they knew that this was going on, they'd be here. I'm sure they don't know it yet. Just like a lot of residents in Williamstown still have no idea this is even going on because there's no newspapers anymore. A lot of people are not on social media anymore, which is funny. I wasn't even on social media, but now I'm back being social media because I've got to find out what's going on all the time here, just to keep an eye on what's going on. Please stay focused on what your residents want. I don't care whatever happened before, just please stay focused, do whatever you can, find whatever, loop, whatever. We just don't want a data center in Williamstown. It doesn't fit our master plan at all. It doesn't keep anything on our master plan, that 300-page master plan, it doesn't fit. You gotta update stuff. I asked before, instead of banning for moratorium, which would have put a stay on applications, it would have stay on, gave us whatever time period you let, 6 months, 12 months, 3 years, a stay until we find out more and educate ourselves more all about the data centers and all the environmental issues, water consumption, electric, your infrastructure for the electric, what's going on there. Because if you read this, it goes on to it goes on to us, the ratepayers. We're the ones. They're not paying it. He's making buku bucks. He's getting his $1 million tax credit for building over so many megawatts that they have. They get tax credits for all that. They're getting all the money. What we're doing is we're paying for the electric. Our electric's going up. Your electric, if you live here, is going up. And find out with Vineland, 25% built, and already their electric around is going up because they have to pay for this multi-million-dollar AI center. Everyone's electric, we're all strained as it is. And not that, when we're hot, when it's 99, 102 degrees, guess who's going to get the electric? The data center, not our homes. We're not going to get it. We're going to have the rolling blackouts that are happening in other states so that they can be cooled. Okay? We don't want this here. And honestly, none of you should want this here either. The more I do my homework on stuff, the more I'm appalled at everything that's going on. And you know what they do? They find little towns like us, little farmlands, near aquifers, near water systems. They're not in there for redevelopment. The only way the redevelopment is they could sneak it in, so they don't have to follow zoning. They can get it in there. And just like the other towns, we don't want it. That's why they're banning this around. Not only that, but we should get a moratorium so we could just take a breath and do everything correctly. But nobody wanted to do that. So I want to thank yous for looking everything over, continue to look over everything over. Us citizens, we do not want, it doesn't belong here. It doesn't belong in this farmland community. It doesn't belong in the mountains and the Poconos either. But it just doesn't belong. There's certain places you can have it, industrial. Philadelphia, that's where all the industrial. A big, huge industrial, that's it. He's proposing 25 football fields of an AI data center. That's huge. Huge, 25 football fields. I can't even, I'm a visual person. I can't even visualize how big that is. Although I did go down to Vineland, and I see how big that's getting, and that's only 25% built. But that's how I stand. I just do what she's got to do. Look into this equipment list. I don't know why that's not, because that's all with your cooling systems, all this loop, closed loop. It's another thing that just doesn't mean anything, actually. Whatever pollutants are going to be putting into the water, it's going to float down to Hospitality Creek. Because if this goes up, we're losing a big business. I thought we were supposed to attract businesses, not chase them out or destroy them. They've been around forever. Hey, if you've been around forever, we're not going to have your back as a business. So we'll put in another business, get all the tax breaks, and then destroy businesses. It's just, I don't know why I'm looking at you, sir. You're just right in front of me.
It's all right. It's okay.
But did you even think that you're going to destroy that business? And not only that, but I'm done. But just the equipment list, find out what's going on with that, and just thank you again.
Thank you.
Hello, my name's Rebecca Veza, and I live at 216 Ward Lane. I've lived in Williamstown almost my entire life. I've gone through Monroe Township Public Schools throughout, from kindergarten to 12th grade. I still live in Monroe Township, and I want to just address my main concern about what's going on, and it's the water usage, also the droughts that we're having here in New Jersey. In October 2024, New Jersey experienced a historic drought where we received only 0.02 inches of precipitation, so not 0.2, but 0.02. It was really scary, and unfortunately, we're in a drought right now, and this is only going to continue. I was informed by someone, I won't say exactly who, but that we were close to running out of water at the end of that drought. And that to me is just really, really alarming and scary. We're in a statewide drought warning right now. Obviously, a data center is only going to harm our aquifer. It's already very fragile. We can't afford to exhaust our natural resources that we have right now with something like a data center. We just can't afford it. Another thing I wanted to bring up is the importance of green spaces and how they're good for our mental health. So I just wanted to read from this article here. It says, the importance of green space for mental health. It's by Joe Barton and Mike Rogerson. So global urbanization has reduced access to and engagement with green space, but there is good evidence of a positive relationship between levels of neighborhood green space and mental health and well-being. Individuals have less mental distress, less anxiety and depression, greater well-being, and healthier cortisol profiles while living in urban areas with more green space compared with less green space. So, I guess we live in a suburban area. Maybe growing up, I would describe Williamstown as more rural, but right now it's pretty suburban. We're getting a lot of development. A lot of things are being built right now. We are losing green spaces, and I just want it to be a priority for our town to conserve the small amount of green spaces that we have left, whether that be farmland or parks. It's just so important for our community. And, you know, I feel anxious because I feel like, you know, the land is being taken away and destroyed. So I just wanted to bring that up. So thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, James Walder. Thanks for giving me a chance to speak. I just want to say that, you know, I have the faith in humanity. I think everybody's a good person and has the best of intentions, but sometimes money and whatever other incentives can distort our intentions. And I'm just trying to figure out how the data center was approved. I guess it was like a couple years ago or a few months ago. Like, was it just airheadedness? Was it, you know, like, how does it, with good intentions for the community, how could it be anything other than some kind of gain to approve a data center in Williamstown, New Jersey? Like, nobody would want a data center. And I can tell by the insincerity of, you know, the mayor and his comments on Facebook, which he stopped, and you could just tell, like, guys, like, you can tell the general tone that there's, like, something being hidden. That there's, like, oh, it's not a data center. We don't know. It's a warehouse. Nobody knows anything. Like, that's the messaging we've been getting for months. And we're not, like, stupid. We can tell that it's insincere. So, you know, with keeping, you know, the fact that, you know, everybody does have good intentions unless they're corrupted. And everybody starts out with the best intentions unless they're corrupted. It's pretty obvious what's going on here when we're getting, you know, when we're being told, we don't know anything about a data center, and then all of a sudden now we're fighting for our town from a data center. Like, I have a mortgage business. I don't have to mislead people. I advertise. I'm proud of my business. You know, I don't like hide and say, well, we're not going to give you a mortgage. We don't know what we're going to give you. Like, I have ribbons, like, cutting down if, like, we started a new office. We're proud about it. I don't think there's going to be any ribbon cutting here. There's not even going to be any jobs. Just letting you guys know, like, we can see through it. And you know we've been seeing through it because nobody's been accepting. We don't know. It's just a it's just a warehouse. Nobody's accepted that because you guys aren't good enough at lying about it. And, you know, I know now we're trying to, like, fix the airheadedness at best, or was it more than airheadedness? Or was it, oh, let's approve this data center now, then we'll act like we'll try to get rid of it, but we know that it's, the law is going to, like, we can see through what's happening, and it's just disappointing. Like, I thought, you know, I was naive to trust politicians, I guess, but it's, you know, it doesn't feel good to kind of be let down either by the best case scenario, just straight up airheadedness where, oh yeah, the data center, let's approve that. We don't know anything about it. Sounds great. Or it was, let's approve this data center, take all the kickbacks, and then when the town goes crazy because they're going to lose all their water, electricity, and, you know, peace of mind, the neighbors around town, the ones close enough, they won't be able to hear, they won't be able to have kids, they won't be able to live because they got cancer. Like, these things are obvious. It's out there. The data's, if you want to look up the data, you know, there's plenty of data on it. We can go over, you know, we don't have to go over it anymore. But just from a human point of view, we saw through it. We saw through it. You guys weren't good at lying, and hopefully it was just complete airheadedness that approved the data center in the first place. That would be the best case scenario. That would be like, you could actually look at yourselves in the mirror and say, I tried my best. I turned down, you know, personal incentives because I wanted the best for my town. And obviously a data center is the worst thing for the town. There's no benefit nobody even knows what a data center does. Like, I know you're not allowed to take questions, but my question would be, what is the point of a data center? How does it benefit anybody to give our data without even us even wanting our data to be stored like this? Like, this isn't before so we can make some AI videos. This is probably more nefarious than anybody even realizes. Okay, nobody's even talking about what does this data center even do? Nobody wants to go down that road, because once you start opening up that can of worms, and you start realizing, wow, this might be way worse than anybody even thought. Maybe that's why politicians of the town got to be, lying about everything. Play dumb. Act like you don't know what you're talking about. I don't know anything about a data center. It's a distribution center. It's a warehouse. Like this is crazy. I mean, that'd be like me saying to a mortgage, don't worry about it. There won't be a lien on your property. There won't be you won't have to pay us. Oh, by the way, yeah, there's a lien. You got to pay us or we're going to take the house. But I guess you guys can get away with it. If I operated like that, I'd be out of business. And that might be the case for you guys too. But maybe at best case scenario, you really didn't know what you were doing, and you just approved the data center because you had no clue about it whatsoever. So I'll give you the benefit of the doubt and go with that for now. So hopefully we can get this fixed. Thanks.
Hi, I'm Larry Garrity Jr. I'm from Vineland, so firsthand experience with data centers, they suck. I just want to address what he said earlier, which was long-term effects or waiting for the long-term effects. What are you waiting for, is my question. Electricity rates have already spiked like about 20%. On top of that, water overconsumption in some states, like droughts, people just don't have water. They don't have water to food, like crops. My biggest concern is the health of the long-term effects of these things, because thanks to some Medicare and Medicaid cuts, we're going to lose hospitals in New Jersey, a lot of hospitals. And with data centers, I'm not sure how he's going to tell you how he's going to make the power, but COPD, asthma, heart issues, lung problems. And let me tell you firsthand, as somebody who had asthma growing up, the one thing you need during an asthma attack is a hospital, because there's a chance you're not going to breathe again without one. And I'm really, really concerned because I don't know what he's doing. I don't know what he's told you. I don't know if he's told you it's a closed-loop system. I don't know if he tried to greenwash stuff. Don't believe a damn word these people say. I promise you they don't give a single shit about the people in your city. They don't care about your residents. They don't care about the future generations. They don't give anything at all. What they want is money, and you have land where they can try and make their money. They don't care. Those jobs will probably most likely not go to your residents. They don't care if the electricity rates make people lose their homes. They don't care if the water dries up and you can no longer water crops. They don't care. All that matters is money. They don't care if 5 kids end up dead from asthma attacks. They don't care. It just does not matter to them. We see it in Utah with the data center complex the size of Washington, D.C. I'm seeing it in Vineland where the long-term effects are going to start now because they're going to come on power. You just don't trust them. I don't know why these people are allowed into the room with you when they don't give a singular fuck about the people, your residents. Why is he here? All you have to do is 5 minutes of research. I didn't know what a data center was in November of 2025, and now I was speaking at the state about how to address data centers legislatively in February. So it doesn't take much to learn what these things are. It just takes a little bit of effort, a little bit of care. I don't know where that care was. I'm just concerned because, again, health problems, hospitals are going to disappear. People are going to die because of these things. It's not an exaggeration. It's the truth. This is New Jersey. How many Superfund sites do we have? How many lessons did we need to be taught? DuPont killed how many people and never faced their repercussions? Why are we waiting for more DuPonts? I just don't get it. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Jake Heil. First, I want to thank you all for being here and doing the right thing tonight. I know that this is a really difficult job that you all have, and you're here with a town that is not very happy with you right now, and I know you all know that too. I don't think anyone here is paranoid about what the town thinks at this point. I believe everyone in this room and everyone that has been here and watched these live streams knows that a data center is bad for this town. And I don't want to belabor that point, and I don't want to belabor that it should have never been passed. This should have never been an allowable use. What I ask for now is transparency and communication, because we all want to get out of this. I know you all want to get out of having a data center here. None of us want a data center here either. Please work with us, communicate with us, give us transparency. We did not know about this meeting until 4 days ago. This application came in April 8th, you said. Why did we not know until 4 days ago? There needs to be communication and transparency to the residents, because that is what will allow us to show up, help defend this as well, and we need to have this voice. I ask for that openness to us. We, again, at the town council meetings, handouts are given to follow the meeting along. We did not receive those tonight. Obviously, there are many more people in this town than there are in this room, and that there were in this room earlier. I believe a lot of this town still does not know. I ask you to do, in good heart, your best effort to share this with the community, because you need the community behind your decisions, and I need you guys, I know what you're standing for moving forward, and I appreciate that. And I want to believe that you will all continue to do the right thing. And we will continue to show up. So please inform us, keep us in mind, and make sure that we are getting the full, transparent information moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Dylan. I am a resident of New Jersey for 26 years. I just wanted to bring up a point back when somebody brought up the cancer question. The cancer, like, you obviously know from the statistics, and people have brought it up multiple meetings now, God, was it 5, 6? That the carcinogens and the air pollution that it provides does cause cancer. So do you, like, can we get an answer on this? Do you believe that cancer's good at all? Like even a consideration on cancer? Like, I mean, you guys, if you look on the township page, you'll obviously see every year they go and host a breast cancer awareness event. Are you going to wear a shirt that says, yes, we're here for that, but I voted for a data center that's going to give you cancer? Because it's kind of really hypocritical to approve something that's knowingly going to give cancer to residents that are around it, and then go and say that, oh, I'm advocating for something that you just basically sabotaged the town with. So I just wanted to bring that up, especially if you guys are going to pose for a photo op for the town, like in the future reference, that it's kind of a bad look considering you didn't research and you're approving something that brings up literal cancer. Like, you're affecting people's lives. Like, there are kids in town too that may have cancer and they may get it by 25, 30. I mean, you guys are a little older. You may not have to deal with it, but once these are built, the generations below, they have to deal with this lifetime. So, I mean, and with the current economy, many children are going to be getting their parents' house. They're not going to get new houses. So you're going to be letting the children of the generations that already bought into the town suffer at the expense of you guys not researching. Like, I just don't see the long-term benefit of this. It's just causing long-term, it's damage to everything in the town. From the economics, it doesn't bring anything to the town. You know, the pilot's going to do what it's got to do. You also know the ecological disaster that it's going to most likely cause if you look at other towns and other states. And it obviously caused physical bodily harm. So I don't understand, like, if you can moving forward, like, research things. I just don't understand. Like, it's a simple Google search. No AI needed. Simple Google search. I mean, 30 minutes on the topic. I mean, college students have to pass exams and study. I don't understand why our elected officials are doing less work than a college student has to do. And they're elected or appointed by the mayor or the council. So that's just a point that I wanted to bring up. But thank you for your time, and thank you for basically doing the right thing today. But obviously, due diligence moving forward would be incredibly appreciated, and more openness on what you're planning on voting on would be great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Jason Howell. I'm with Pinelands Alliance. First, I just want to thank you for making a highly reasoned and defensible decision here tonight. Hexa clearly made a desperate legal gamble, submitting a rushed and highly flawed application, ignoring the clear requirements of the Pinelands Commission that a certificate of filing must be obtained before any application can be deemed complete before a planning board. A warehouse is not a data center. A data center has highly distinct requirements that would have to be examined by the Pinelands Commission. One does not mean that a warehouse CF does not mean they have a data center CF. It's really that simple. So I just want to congratulate you for seeing through that gamble and for making an important decision on behalf of your residents. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Linda Pizotsky. I know you said you typically do not answer questions, and the word typically doesn't mean we never answer questions. Is that correct? So I do have a question. 2 years ago, my family came here because we heard about the warehouse. And at that time, Mayor said, you don't have to worry about that. It's going to take a long time. It would be years if that ever happened. No mention of a data center. Then we come back, and now it's a warehouse. But then the subject of a data house comes up. Don't have to worry about a data house. They have to start all over again with all their applications. That wasn't that long ago. And all of a sudden, in this short period of time where we didn't have to worry because it's going to take a long time, and that the pine lands are very, very strict, so you don't have to worry. And here we are, and everybody's worrying. So my question that you typically may not answer is, if it takes that long for the application, a reapplication for the data center, how come it took such a short period of time? That's my question. How did that happen? How did something that would take a reapplication and a long time to happen this quickly? That's impossible. So that was not told to us truthfully. Or you already knew it was going to be a data center. I really don't know. I listen to words that are, oh, that may happen, it could be. And people don't look at the words may or could be or you heard this, oh, well, you take it that way. Oh, but we meant it this way. People don't listen to those words, but that I do, and I just don't understand. And I don't understand why you're not answering my question, because typically does not mean we're not answering your question. So why did it take this short period of time to establish the fact that we could have a data center here?
Tonight, we deemed it incomplete because it wasn't done properly.
Pardon me?
It was deemed incomplete because it wasn't done properly.
So what's
They
incomplete?
tried to speed it along.
The data center. So you did it, now I could be wrong about this, but I thought tonight that you were able to deny it or to delay it. Is that correct? Delay what's happening here? That to delay and to look into it further?
This was an application, at this point, this was a hearing for completeness of the application to determine whether or not they submitted all the required documents for that application to change from a warehouse to a data center. And the board's vote was that they did not provide enough information for them to fully then hear the actual application some future date.
Okay, not that they were able to deny it.
This was not a denial of the application, this was a deeming of the application incomplete.
Okay. Well, that answers that question for me. Thank you. All right, I just would like you to, I know you're not answering my question, but I'd like you to think about how come it took such a short time to get to this point, that you have to, it just doesn't make any sense to me. But thank you.
Thank you. Would anybody else like to speak?
Before we have seconds, do you want to make sure everyone else that wanted to come up?
Yours for once.
Members of the board, Eric Fruder, 2014, Burlington Circle, Williamstown, New Jersey. I think I'm the last person of the public that wants to speak, but I just wanted to go on record concerning the board as a whole, the planning and zoning board for that matter. You've heard a lot of testimony from the public, a lot of drama, a lot of anger, call it like it is. But one of the things that the public must also recognize is that you're bound by your individual oaths of office to adhere to not only the ordinances of the town, but the state municipal land use law. Well, let's think about that for a minute. Sometimes what you may personally like or dislike has no bearing if it's a conflict with the municipal land use law. You're bound to vote on matters as they appear and as the law determines. You make decisions based on your professional's recommendation and other testimony and the applicant's testimony, but it's the board's duty to render a fair and impartial decision, which in the time I've been in Monroe Township, this board and the zoning boards and the governing body have always, and I mean always, acted in a fair and professional manner. Now, there were a lot of people that were talking about political aspects of it. That has no bearing, none, on the board or the zoning boards or the other boards. That's politics. And let's be honest, all the politicians take contributions. Not anyone in particular, not any one party in particular, not any just this state. It's nationwide. So to insinuate that that would be an influence on somebody, not happening anymore. Especially after play to pay was initiated. I don't want to go on a rant. I'm just going to say I just wanted those facts on the record as well. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. With nobody here else ready to speak, I'll take a motion to close the public.
So move.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Is that it? Yep. Okay, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.